Hello everyone. Today I've decided to jump in onto what I call my VST Toolbox. For those of you who are not aware of what it is, those are actually tools that I've built myself during the last Chronicle to help my job and duties as VST Masquerade in Montreal. So, being a software developer myself, I thought that if there's some task I could work on and let's say code it, so after that it takes less time, it means I have in the end more time to work on plots, answer downtimes, and do more funny stuff for my players. So I built tools, and over the time I've actually expanded them to do more and more and more and more. Today I'm going to do a kind of overview of what I have for Masquerade. I've got something similar in progress for Apocalypse, just that since I finished the character sheet just recently, of course I had to finish the sheet before working on the tools, but my goal is to have that ready for the start of Chronicle in July. In Canada, I know in the US you already started, but in Canada we're starting in July. So I will do an overview, a presentation of what I have. I will not cover today, actually not in this video, the functionality themselves. I will not show you how they work or what you can do or cannot do. I will just show you the tool. And in a more subsequent video, I will go in more details with what you've got to explain more questions, because I could talk of this for hours without telling you everything there's to know. So what you got on the screen right now is the content of the VST Masquerade Toolbox folder that you can get from the PDF file I've published on a few groups on Facebook. So if you go on the list of files and you download that document and you unzip the archive, you'll have what you see on my screen. So as you see, there's a few files in there. The last two here are mostly used to manage gossips, so influence, elite, underworld, level 2, what I call gossips. They're also used if you want to create custom news or info or plots for your player based on their allies and contact. So I will explain later on how it works. The character sheet, that's the latest version. If you find that there's a new version of the sheet I published, you don't need to re-download everything. You can just paste the sheet in the folder. Just make sure that the name of the file is the same. If not, it's not going to work because the application expects that name for that file. You got a bunch of DLL. I know people might say, oh, but you've got DLL, why are those virus or stuff like that? Nope. Just that the tool itself do not install on your machine. It's not an installer, it's not something that you're going to set up and then just run as any other tools on your machine. It's a standalone. You run it, you close it, it's done. No installer, nothing remaining on your machine. You want to delete it, flush the folder, you're done. Because of that, you need DLL files to run. So I will not cover all of those because there's no value in that, but that's why you got DLL. And then you got the executable file, which is the application itself. So let's start with this. So that's the home page of the Masquerade VST Toolbox. For Apocalypse, it's kind of the same UI. There's one or few things. For example, you don't have discipline, you'll have gift and stuff like that. But I would say 90% of the UI is the same. So what you see on your screen right now is really the home page. At the top you got a bunch of filter I will cover later on. They allow you to do search on a bunch of character sheet you've loaded in memory. You can add filter on skills, background, discipline, influence, and attributes, physical, social, mental, or by merit and flaws, and you can stack them on the right here as much as you want. On the bottom, you got a list of files that will be listed when you'll actually read those files using the application. Right now, there's none because, of course, we've just started the application. At the top, you got a menu. Contacts is just to give you some info. Gossip will give you the info on generate the influence I told earlier, then the news, and you can also send them by email if you want. I'll explain later on how that works. The manage sheet menu allow you to lock character sheet, which is useful when you want to lock the creation column of your characters. Also the XP log to be sure that the entry are not changed between revision that you've done, which is really useful for a storyteller. You can also email character sheet, which I don't know for other storyteller. On my side, it was easier and faster to add the XP myself on the character sheet after each game and then send the sheet to my player with my instruction and my dates for the downtime. Then to let them do it, they forgot, and you need to trace back who were there, when, and then add those XP, answer the question. It was faster to do it myself, taking an hour or two, than letting them do it and have to answer all the questions and the problems. So, my decision. You may not agree. Don't use it if you don't agree. But sometimes could be interesting. You can also clear all downtimes from all the character sheet open, which are as well good, because you can enter the XP, log the sheet, clear the downtime, and then email them to your player. And you all do that using one tool, which is good, because with all the time you save, you do more stuff and more funny stuff. And then you can upgrade character sheet, which that it's pretty awesome. Because let's be honest. You're a storyteller, you got 20, 30, 40 characters, maybe as much NPC. And there's a new version of the character sheet that goes up. Do you really want to open them one by one and upgrade them? I mean, seriously, no one do that. No one want to do that. Even one player do not want to upgrade his own character sheet. That tool let you pick a bunch of character sheet and upgrade them using the version you've got in the folder behind, and then you're done. It takes 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes if your computer is not fast, which is still way much faster than doing it one by hand with all the potential errors, which is great. Then you've got search options. This menu goes with the filter you got on the screen. What they does is that by default, you can select, for example, all skills, or let's say all the merits that exist in the book. But if you select use existing skill or background, then they will pick in those fields only the list shared among the character you've loaded. So if you want to be sure you're not going to search on something that no one has picked, then you can select those options and pick as many as you want. You can, like, say, use skills. And in that scenario, it does not change anything because there's no character selected, but later on I will show you that there's a difference if you got character selected. Finally, the last menu is the file one. This one is like the entrance. It's one of the menus you're going to use a lot. So you can load Excel character sheet, and as you see, it's plural. It's not one character sheet at a time. It's most. Give me a folder and I'm going to read all of them. There are some exceptions. I will tell you about them when I will explain how that functionality works. You can also load from an XML file, because once you read the file once, it takes time. You don't want to read them all every time. So you're actually going to save the result to an XML file, and then the next time, if none of the sheet have changed, you can just reload again and start over. So could be good. You can also create a lot of data in a format of HTML files, which personally I was using at the game. I was copying the output of that thing to my tablet, And at the game, I was searching for the data on my player without having the need to parse Excel character sheet or even have access to Excel. I was able to tell, okay, who have this merit, or who have underworld influence at that level, who got survival at 4. It was easy. I was getting the data on my fingertip, portable, good in the game because it's fast. Also, I was printing all the character sheet of all my player before the game. Again, that's a decision I made. You could decide to let your player print them, but there was some of my players that have no access to a printer, or sometimes they forget their sheet. And honestly, if you don't print the sheet before, this means you need to validate them before the start of the game, which takes a lot of your time that you cannot use to run scene, run plot kits, answer questions, or talk with your player. So if you print the sheet, then you just go at the game, you say, player 1, here's your sheet, player 2, here's your sheet, player 3, here's your sheet. You have evaluated them beforehand, you know they're correct, so you save time at the game, which in the opposite gives you more time to do stuff more fun. And that's the goal. This tool, it's an assistant to a storyteller. He's not going to do your job. He's going to help you doing your job, making you work faster, better, and doing less error. That's the goal of that tool. And as you'll see with all the others video that will come after that, there's a lot of things that you can do that you were not sure you could do. And there's a lot of things that, since you're going to take minutes to do them, you're actually going to enjoy doing them because they'll open the horizon for new things to be done. So as I said, more videos will come. I do hope you'll find those interesting. Until then, if you have questions or comments of what you saw, you can send them my way and I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. Bye!